SBR Forum Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. We are covering Week 14 in college football, and right now we're talking with Steve from CollegeFootballWinning.com, who's having a great year at his site, and he's going to give us an opinion on the huge rivalry game, South Alabama, Georgia State in Week 14. Steve, thanks for being back with us.
Thank you for having me back, Peter.
All right. Give a plug for CollegeFootballWinning.com before we get into this game.
Be happy to. Thank you. At CollegeFootballWinning.com, all we do is college football betting analysis. So far, this year, our algorithmic picks, that is through Week 13, are winning at a rate of 70.18%. It's the best season we've ever had. So if people want to join us, and we hope that they do watching this video, go to our site, CollegeFootballWinning.com, put in coupon code SBR20, and you will get 20% off of any membership that we're offering, and we'll be covering all 35 bowl games this year.
South Alabama at Georgia State. Georgia State is a 7 or 7.5 point home underdog. And, a lot of times in these Sun Belt games, there can be pretty obvious value. Here, I'm not exactly sure which way you're going to go because both these teams are off of kind of, impressive games. South Alabama absolutely rolled Louisiana Monroe on the road in their last game. Georgia State is winless in the Sun Belt, but they did come within 2 at Arkansas State, on the road last week. And Arkansas State, at least, in the standings, is a significantly better team than South Alabama. So both those games look pretty impressive on paper. What do you like here?
Okay, here we like South Alabama in this spot. And I'll tell you, Georgia State this year, they are winless straight up. This was actually a surprise year for them in a sense, entering the FBS. This is earlier than they had planned to enter the FBS this year, but they got the opportunity to join the Sun Belt Conference and they took it. They have yet to win a game straight up, but these guys are an excellent against the spread team. They are 8-2-1 against the spread. They've been sneaking up on everybody and losing some pretty close games because they're sneaking up on people. Well, South Alabama knows that has been the case for Georgia State. They have their entire body of work to look at for this season. They're not going to sneak up on South Alabama. This is the second year in the FBS for South Alabama. They themselves are a good against the spread team. They're 6-4 against the spread so far this year. They have 3 1-point straight up losses this year, and they have 1 2-point straight up loss. So even though this is a 4-6 straight up team in South Alabama, they're probably better than their record indicates, at least in conference play. Georgia State has lost all 6 of their home games straight up by an average of 13.5 points, and 3 of their 6 home games, 3 of those losses then were to FCS schools. Their closest loss at home was a 6-point loss, and that was to FCS Jacksonville State. Now, if you want to beat South Alabama, you got to do it on the ground. Their rushing defense is 84th against the FBS. Georgia State, they're not a running team. They rank 106th in rushing offense versus the FBS. Georgia State likes to pass the ball. They're 70th in the FBS. You might say that's not that impressive, but compared to Georgia State's rushing offense, which is 106th, that is their preference, is to throw the ball. Now, South Alabama, their passing defense is 51st in the FBS. That's second best in the Sun Belt Conference. Georgia State passes the ball in part because their head coach is a former wide receiver. They play their home games in a dome, and they have one of the most explosive wide receivers in the country, believe it or not, in senior Albert Wilson, and this is senior day. But South Alabama is 9th in the country for sacks per game, and that's easily the best in conference, versus Georgia State's ranking 105th in sacks allowed per game, and that's last in conference. We think this line should be more like South Alabama favored by 13.5 points.
Well, that does sound like a huge edge, Steve. And yes, 7 is a widely available number right now, so we can give you South Alabama -7. Thanks, Steve. Talk to you again next week.